Hi, in this video I'm going to explain to you the concept of loops. Alright, so what are loops? Loops in general refer to any action that you want to keep repeating for a certain number of times. Alright, so in some cases you may know how many times you want to repeat the action. In some case you do not know upfront, and while the program is executing you will have to make a decision. Alright, in terms of loop structures for Python, the two main sort of loop structures we will use are the while loop, alright, and the other one is the for loop. Alright, so I'm going to show you a code, alright, for a while loop, alright, and then based on the code we will understand what is happening. Alright, so let me bring you over here. So this is a while loop. Alright, now how do I write a while loop? I use the keyword while followed by the condition that I want to check for. Alright, so this is basically a logical comparison which will return true or false. Okay, so to get a better idea, let's draw the flow chart. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to declare a variable count and give it a value of 0. Alright, so for the while loop, what we're going to do is first we say that we have a variable count and we have given it a value of 0. Alright, in the next step, what am I doing? I am doing a check. Alright, so this is basically a selection. So if you remember, previously we used the selection block for if-else statements. Okay, now we are using the same selection block, except that now we are using it to determine whether a piece of code or a section of the code must be repeated. Alright, so what are we checking for? Okay, we are checking for this condition where the count must be less than 5. Alright, so I'm checking for count less than 5. Alright, so whenever I'm doing a logical check, okay, I only can have two options, either true or false. Okay, so there are only two pathways here, either the count is lesser than 5 or not. Alright, so I'm going to draw two pathways. So for the true, alright, is one pathway. So let's look at the true first. Now, if it is true, what do I do? Okay, so in Python, when I write the while statement, I must end with a colon, and automatically when you press the enter button, you will go one tab in. Alright, so this is a common feature of Python where it is sensitive to the tab space that is in the code. Same as the if and else if and so on that we have learned before. When I use the while and I press the end with the colon and I press enter, automatically I'll go one tab in, which means that these two lines of code belong to the while loop. So if this condition is true, I will execute this block of code. So what am I doing here? I'm increasing count by 1. Okay, count plus equals to 1 is the same as count equals to count plus 1. Alright, and then I'm going to print the value of count. Okay, so there are two things that I'm going to do here. I'm going to increment count plus equals to 1, and the next thing is I'm going to print. Okay, print the count value. Alright, now what happens after I complete that block of code that is part of the while loop? Alright, so these two lines refer to the block of code that are part of the while loop. Now when I finish this block of code, okay, how a loop works is I automatically go back and check. Okay, I check for this condition again. Do I still satisfy this condition? Alright, and as long as I satisfy the condition, I will keep repeating the block of code. Alright, so here what I'm going to do is once I finish this print, I need to go back here and check again whether this condition is true. Alright, so count originally is 0, correct? And the first time that I go in, I'll increment by 1, so count. Okay, so let's track the value of count here. So initially count from 0 will become 1. Okay, 0 will become 1 and I print 1. Alright, then I go back, I check, is this condition true? Is count less than 5? Yes. So I go back, then 1 will become 2. I print it out again. Then I go back again, I check, is this condition true? Yes. So 2 will become 3 and I print it out. Again the condition is true, 3 will become 4, I print it out. Alright. Now, after I finish printing 1, 2, 3, 4, alright, when I go back for, what will happen? When I check this condition is 4 less than 5, it is still true. Correct? The condition that 4 less than 5 is still true. So I will still come, I will increment by 1 and I will print. Now after that, what happens? When I come back, it will be 5. Now is 5 less than 5? No. Alright, this condition is no longer true. So what must I do? I can no longer execute this part. I must go outside of the loop. So this is the false. Okay, so if I do not satisfy this condition, I cannot execute that block. So I continue with the rest of the program. Okay, so currently the rest of the program is nothing. Correct, there is nothing. So if once I hit the condition where the count hits 5, alright, then I will no longer be able to continue the program. Okay, so let me run the code. So you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, now just to have clarity on the last part, let's have one more block over here where we say that when I don't satisfy the condition, what will I do? I will print, okay, end, okay, of program, okay, and that will be the end. Okay, so I'm going to add one more statement here, one more statement, and this time around I'm not going to be part of the one tap in. I'm going to go back to the start. Okay, why? Because this is outside of the while loop. So print end of program. Alright, so now you see that when I finish with the loop and I no longer satisfy the condition where count is less than 5, what happens is I don't execute this block anymore and I come to the end of program. So that is basically how a loop works. As long as a condition is true, I will repeat that block of code. Once the condition is false, I will skip that block of code. So in this case, when I skip this block of code, I'll come to end of program. Alright, now just to show you, if my initial value of count is, let's say, 7, then what happens? If my initial value of count is 7, the very first time that I come here, I already do not satisfy the condition. Okay, which means that I cannot execute this block of code at all, and I will just skip the entire while block and continue with the rest of the program. Okay, so let me run this. So you can see that if my initial value of count is already set such that it does not satisfy the check, the while loop check, I will not be able to execute any instance of the while loop. So I will immediately skip and go to the end of the program. Okay, so if I were to start with another value 3, then you go from 3, you go to 4 and to 5, and that's it. Alright, so that is basically how, okay, a while loop can be designed in Python. Alright, you need to have some variable which you will then check for some condition, and if the condition is satisfied, you execute the block of the code, alright, associated with the while loop, and that is one tap in. Once the condition is no longer fulfilled, okay, this condition is no longer fulfilled, then I skip this entire block and continue with the rest of the program. Okay, so I hope now you have a clear idea how to implement while loops in Python. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video.